Good afternoon. It's Charlotte Pierce here with Jason T. Weiser, Laura Williams, and Tordis Isselhardt with the Indie Office Hours sponsored by Independent Publishers of New England. And we are dedicated to exposing all aspects of the publishing process, as complicated as they may be. We're trying to demystify them and help people figure out how to get through being an independent publisher, solo publisher, solopreneur, authorpreneur, or self-published author, and juggle all this stuff and all the complicated aspects of publishing, which used to be taken care of for the very select few by the big publishing houses. So we are in a whole new world, and today we're talking about how to build a team of people who aren't necessarily your employees, but are connected to you, believe in your work, and are highly competent in their chosen fields, as you are in yours. So we have, we'd like to maybe go through and introduce our panel as only they can introduce themselves. I'm co-president of the Independent Publishers of New England, and I'm an independent publisher in the Boston, Massachusetts area. I have Pierce Press and 3 imprints under that. I'm struggling to juggle all the stuff I need to juggle. I think I can do everything myself, and this is not true. So I'm taking the advice of these Laura and Tordis and Jason today. So Tordis, can you tell us a little bit about your business and how you discovered how to function as an indie?
Well, I'm still learning, but Images from the Past is my publishing house, and I'm rare among our group in that I haven't written any of the books that I've published. I see my role as the bringing along the story for the appropriate audience, bringing along the authors, and so I use many independent contractors. I have a hand in it to make sure that we're all going in the same direction, and when I get a chance I'll say something about that too. Also, I now have a distributor, Applewood Books, so that has changed the amount of hands-on involvement that I have.
So you don't have to go pound the pavement and go to all the independent bookstores that...
Yeah, well, my books are somewhat narrow, and they are not like from the neighborhood. So going to the neighborhood bookstore to say, here, we've got this book that you, of course, want to have, really hasn't been an option for me for the most part.
Right. Okay, let's go to Jason and then back to the co-host, Laura.
Jason is going to be right back. Our last-minute guest had to take a phone call, and he'll be right back.
Isn't he here?
Yeah, actually, I can jump in here quick, Laura. Okay. I posted, yeah, I've got a call that I do have to go take, but I just told them I'm going to call you back. I've got more important things I got to do right now. Let's hang out with some lovely ladies and talk about outsourcing and VAs, right? So I'm Jason Weiser. I'm with, what? I'm sorry?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So I'm Jason Weiser, and I'm the host of the Get on Track, Stay on Track podcast series, and we help your small business one expert at a time. We interview various experts in the industry about marketing, online sales, and anything to do with your website and your business online for your small business. And just excited that these ladies called me in for the last minute. I love the topic of VAs and outsourcing and expanding and growing your business, and so I'm anxious to see what questions you have and where this discussion is going to go.
Right, and it's a real talent to manage a lot of extra people. I mean, it's easier to manage yourself, but it's harder to kind of. I mean, it's a certain thing that you need to learn to juggle all these different types.
I recently hired a project manager for one of my we're expanding, and I was introducing him to some of the other team members, and one after the other, as I introduced them, I introduced him and I said, "Hi, this is Jeff," and Jeff's our project manager, and his job is to get me organized and keep me, focused. And one after the other, they all start cracking up, and after about 3 of them, Jeff's like, "What did I get myself into?"
This is so funny because I actually hired Laura as a consultant to do this for me. So she like chases me down throughout the week. She's like, can you talk now? Can you talk now? And she put together a time management calendar for me, and it's like, you need these people. You need them. She's like my mom, But anyway, Laura, why don't you tell us what you do, and then we'll get to the topic.
I'm a content writer and marketer, and I also have a show on Wednesday evenings called The Writing Biz, which is about the business of writing. And I do a lot of freelance work. So I understand this subject very well from both sides. One, on the side of needing to hire people in your life to help you out, and then on the other side as being one of those people that people hire to take care of their needs and keep their businesses running a little more smoothly. So.
Yeah. So, I think this is since we're we were talking about publishing in particular. I mean, it is an independent publishing is a field or an area, a collection of people that really want to do things themselves. They really want to do things their way. They have a vision, they have a passion, whether it's organic farming or we have a member at IPNE who has a book called Meditative Gardener, and she does wonderful books, or a wonderful book, and I think probably more, but we're sort of a quirky bunch, and we want to do everything ourselves, so this is it's a problem for us, and to reach out and try and get help. So the first thing that Laura thought of when I think was virtual assistants. I mean, there are a number of different types of people that as a publisher you're going to need, but maybe Jason can talk about that. I think you hired a virtual assistant, or have you experienced with that?
Yeah, so I like to back up a little bit, and let's be clear on what we're talking about here. We're talking about outsourcing, which could be I have a big project and I want to send it to somebody else. It's maybe a one-time deal, things like Elance or Odesk. You see this a lot happening in web development. You see it happening a lot in programming, maybe graphic design. Then you have a VA, virtual assistant. That's somebody who you can call on for like those one-offs, or they've got maybe one task or two tasks, and it's their job to kind of repeat that thing over and over again. And then I think then you would have part-time staff and of course full-time staff, and the lines get really gray between that part-time staff and that VA position. The outsourced job to the one-time knockoff, that's pretty cut and dry. But
like the designers and things like that.
Yeah. So like for myself, let's look at the OnTrack Tip Show, for example. Where are some places that I use a VA? I have one woman that's a VA, and she does time stamping. She goes through the video and watches it and adds timestamps. I have another, and then she's also the VA that does all my graphics. That I put up. Then I have another VA that helps me manage tweet chat or Twitter chat. That's really her only job right now, is she goes in and helps manage that during the show.
Ask you, do you give them your passwords, or how do you get them onto your accounts?
Yeah, so that's an important question too. So for the time stamping, what we do is we share it to the web to the OnTrack Tips page, the Google Plus page, and there they do have access because they have managers. So any small business, or as you're doing your publishing, that's another good argument for which is better than a profile or a page. Well, that's one strong argument for why a page is nice in team management, because now you have a manager. Google Plus, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Uh-huh.
And you can
And
also do it on Facebook as well.
right. Yep.
Manager.
Yep. And that way you have more control, and you have permission control, and you can determine what they can use and what they can't access. And so most of it will go out, through the OnTrack Tips page first, and then I'll reshare it to my personal profile. Now for the Twitter, yes, I do have other people that have access to Twitter because they manage Hootsuite, they manage, posting and scheduling of tweets that are going to go out through the week, as well as I do all responding and comments, so that's always me when you get a response. But during the tweet chat, I have an assistant that will put up kind of the highlights or the quotes about what's happening during the show. Kind of like, at this point here, we're talking about, or we answer this question. Come check us out. And so throughout the show, she'll do that. So, but she doesn't have access.
Do you have full-time staff or part-time staff?
Well, I've got part-time staff. The project manager that I just brought on, he's part-time, and then I've got a developer. He is, if part-time is determined in hours, he's not, part-time or full-time, but he's my go-to lead developer for back-end development. And then I also have a server IT admin because we just bought a new dedicated server, and we're expanding and launched a new company, or a leg of our company is Wiser Sites. That's our hosting and domain services, which I'll throw an offer out if you guys want. I don't know if I'm here to plug my stuff or not, but
no, absolutely. If you have an offer for our viewers or our members of IPNE, that would be awesome. I think I can vouch for your integrity and your services. So please go ahead and tout that if you.
Well, I sure do appreciate it, Charlotte. So the wisersites.com is our dedicated server, and we're only taking on people that we know closely. So you have to call me and talk to me, tell me what your website's about, and what it is basically dedicated speed and an environment at shared hosting prices. So about what you're paying over at GoDaddy, Midphase, or HostGator, you're going to get with us. Only you're going to get a lot more resources, a lot more space, and a lot more attention. If you're on WordPress.com and you've been wanting to come over to WordPress.org, but you don't know how to do that, you don't know which button to push or how to migrate that, I'll do that for. It can be complicated, yeah. Well, we'll do that for anybody that's on your show today. Anybody that's on WordPress.com right now and you want to come over, we'll do that for free. If you buy 1 year of hosting, your first year of hosting with us, then we'll help you make that migration and get you set up on your own
Thank you
hosting.
so much. Yeah,
I know it's a big challenge. So
I just figured that out myself a little bit. Laura Williams and Tanya Gold, who's also a board member of IPNE. But Tordis, I don't want to ignore you because I know that you probably have something to weigh in here. Have you ever used a virtual assistant, or have you?
When I was thinking about preparing for this and what we might talk about, I went at it from a different angle. I was thinking, okay, what we want in the end is a product, a book which could have any of many different formats, but it's one integrated whole where hopefully all of the pieces are contributing, and therefore the specialists that are preparing these different pieces have to be in sync with each other. Now, as you said, sometimes people have many of the talents within themselves and then just have to go out and get some extra people. Our model, as I said, where I don't write any of it, is to put together, let's call it a virtual publishing house with different specialists, the designer, the editor, indexer where needed, author to start with, and then me as the conductor of the orchestra to decide in the very beginning, is this a project that we could do right by, that we could do well with for us, and then seeing that we get together, have a common vision for what the end product is going to be, and then keep people in communication with each other. Do a lot online where the designer might have nothing to do yet, but for him to know where we are in the process is important. And so this is how I have worked, and the results have been award-winning books. So
And how have you retained these same people, or what do you do with
actually,
when you're disappointed with someone or something?
Yeah, we've been very happy. In fact, I'm going to be having lunch with one of the husband-wife editor teams. They are both excellent, and just their schedules allow one or the other to be working on a project or their particular background for a particular subject. Have a designer who insists on doing both the cover and the interior. So it's a unified look in that way too, and also will create maps if I need them.
And do they do books? Does that designer do books across the different? Like if you have a completely different type of book?
Oh yeah. We're working on a book that is recollections of a Vermonter that went out to Alaska just before the Klondike Gold Rush. And they have been written down by his son, to whom he had told them all. So we're looking at what do we use. We got some family visuals. That is great. I was over with the designer last week, getting them all scanned, and to get them, in the can, and get them back to the family. So there is a great sense of buy-in of the way Images from the Past tries to tell stories. And the tagline is publishing history in ways that help people see it for themselves.
And have you ever had turnover with your subcontractors and your?
Well, what has happened? What happened one time is that neither of the team of editors was available, and we had to go out and get somebody else, and suddenly found out that that it isn't always so that they do fact checking. It isn't always so that they do, pesky little stuff. Set up a
so you have to have your own checklist and make sure that you're asking them, even if you're confident that have integrity and professionalism.
As I used to say to my sons when they wanted something on TV, who do you know who has one? And in this case, the products, see stuff that the editors have done. And of course, for the fact-checking side, or even the instinct to see, wait a minute, this doesn't quite ring right. That's where the content is important.
Yeah.
I think you're making a very valid point, that when you do hire people to help you from outside with your business, you do have to be very careful that you vet them and that you also communicate well with them, whatever your needs are. I think that's really important. And
in my notes, I said that communication is absolutely key.
Right. Absolutely, yep.
Start at the beginning that we all see this project pretty much the same way, and then stay in communication.
Yeah. And the other thing I've noticed, if you're trying to save money and trying to do everything yourself, often that really affects the product that you put out, whether that's a book or anything else. You need to take the time to step back and see what you need. And maybe if you don't have the money to hire, let's say, a design person for a book cover, maybe you should put off your project for a little while until you can afford to do that. Instead of pushing through and putting an inferior product out there because you couldn't afford help or didn't ask for help or whatever. I think that's a lot of people find themselves in that position.
Yeah, it's better to postpone your publishing date than to put out something that is going to have one typo in it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, I agree.
And if you go too far in the process, then for somebody to rescue it is going to be pretty expensive.
Yeah, that's usually even worse. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Jason,
and like the author doing their own design in Word, and then when the formatting all has to be stripped out when a designer gets to it. So asking, that's a very good point, Laura, that to ask for some outside help at the appropriate time.
Yeah. Jason's a good example of that, because you can tell the way that he does everything is very well thought out and very well done, and that would be almost impossible for him to do solely by himself.
Now,
So
Jason, do you like to just be more like have fewer employees? I mean, would you just like to run a company with a lot of employees, or do you like working on your own like this?
I would let my goal right now, my vision, is to build my company in such a way that I don't even have to be a part of the company. I mean, I want as many employees as I can. I want to employ all the people on Google Plus that are just active and awesome and doing great things. I want to find a position for them. I want to find a way. See, people ask me, you go to the question on trust. You go to the question on how do you give people your passwords? How do you hire a VA? How do you know who to hire? Here's how I do it. I watch people. What are you doing online? How do you conduct yourself? What do you talk about? Do you really know what you're talking about? Do you, oh, you're a web developer. What does your website look like? How much traffic do you? And then I look for people that are passionate about what they're doing, and I offer them a job. I don't look for people that are posting, I need a job, because those people are not the ones that I want on my team. What I want are the people that are, I love doing what I'm doing, and
Yeah.
You'd be surprised at how many people are on my team right now. I contacted them. I said, "Are you looking for work?" And like, I never even really thought about that.
About that.
The woman that does my time stamping, I'm like, "You're really good at this. I see you doing it for fun. Would you like to get paid to do that?" She's like,
Yeah.
Sure, that'd be great. And she does a great job with it. Because
Yeah.
another woman, she writes these amazing little summaries of interviews, of HOA interviews. So I went to her and I said, "Wow, you do such an amazing job with that. Do you want to get paid to do that?" She's like, "Sure, that would be great." I'm like, "Okay, well, what do you cost? What are your rates?" She's like, "I don't know. I never even thought about it." Just so good at it,
So this
look,
is. Are you on are you on any other? I mean, you must be on other platforms besides Google Plus, but do you find Google Plus is more fruitful for you in that way?
Because by nature, Google Plus is the more engaging network. I mean, it's all about relationship marketing and engagement, whereas that's what really sets it apart from Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. But of course, I'm over there on those other places. But again, I'm not. I've tried to hire from LinkedIn, but it just has that really sterile, buttoned-up corporate kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
That's not where I'm going to find an assistant. That's not where I'm looking. Now, when my company grows and I need a proven, vetted, recommended project manager, then I'll go there. But like with Jeff, I'd rather raise him up, bring him up through the ranks. It's like Randy, who's our server admin. I mean, this guy is just amazing, and he kind of knew. I mean, he had his own dedicated server for a while, but he never thought about like being charging to run somebody else's server. I'm like, okay, so I put up the money for it. I bought the server. I said, do what you can with it. He's like, well, I don't want to break it. I'm like, break it. I don't care. Do whatever you can do. Let's see what you can do with this thing. And now, what I think it's like 2.5 months later, the guy's such a wizard. We've launched Wiser Sites. We've got our own dedicated hosting. I mean, he's just an amazing. He's discovered things that he may not have known that he could have done, and he might be listening, so I got to be careful what I say.
You have an awesome name for this business too. I mean, Wiser Sites is the offer that you're making to our listeners.
Yeah, that's right. Wiser Sites. Yep.
I love it.
In fact, you know what? I can even go ahead. Well, I'll do one or the other. You tell me which one you want. All right. You can either have 50% off your first year, or of hosting alone. Or you can have, we'll move your WordPress com over to WordPress.org for free. So whichever one you guys want.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I think I would take the latter if I were.
The 50% off?
No, I mean, I think I would take the
migration.
Because
it can be pretty laborious.
It can be very much more time. But
I wanted to say,
when you were addressing trust, one thing that as I was listening to, I was thinking is that particularly in your case, and it's a very good example, is you make that a two-way street, because you've earned I am sure, the people that works with you trust and loyalty because of the way you're treating them. And I think that's a big part of it. If you want quality people to help you with anything, you have to treat them with that amount of respect and give them that kind of quality relationship back.
And let me say too, sorry to cut you off, Charlotte, but part of treating them well is paying them, and so many people don't get this. I make a relationship on Google Plus or any other network. We're friends now. Hey, you want to help me out? Sure, I'll volunteer. I'll donate. I get people like quite often that say, I really love what you're doing. I'd like to come in and learn and work alongside your team. Can I do that? I'll even do it for free. And I say, no, I won't let anybody come in and do it for free, because free doesn't, I can't dictate deadlines. I can't mandate requirements. But if we put a dollar value on it, now all of a sudden it's a business transaction that's being conducted. So I'm not going to allow you to work for free. That same note is, don't pay, like my server IT and my lead developer, they're getting top dollar. I mean, they're getting some good money, maybe not the highest in the industry, but I'm certainly not trying to skimp and outsource to overseas and try to say, okay, I'll pay him $5 an hour to manage my IT. Of course not. That'd be lunacy. Right, so I'm going to pay him what he's worth, and in fact, he probably they're both worth a lot more than I'm paying him. But anyway,
there's another aspect to what you were saying, Jason, that Laura was beginning to pick up on too, is treating them right is also bringing them along, giving them a chance to do things that they could do, as you said, hadn't thought they could do. And so I feel this is really important in my work, that I am there helping the author to get his story told well, and then giving the indexer of one index that was 9 pages long and 3 columns, if you could imagine, was so proud of it that she submitted it for a national award. And unfortunately, only one award is granted in that particular category, and another or by that institution. But they are proud of what they can do because I'm allowing them to, we work, I mean, it isn't, absolutely free reign and spend all the time you want and all the money you want, but the understanding is that we are a team and that what helps them helps us too.
Yeah, I mean, part of that is being, you feel good about doing it yourself. I mean, that's part of your motivation. You're helping someone else develop their career, so.
I want to give you a real quick example of that. When I was in my 20s, which is obviously a while ago, I took a position as a personal assistant to this lady. And I worked for her off and on for 15 years. We opened 5 different businesses. And it went from being a personal assistant all the way up to where I was the general manager of a multi-million-dollar nightclub. So that, and I tell her all the time, she's one of my absolute dearest best friends. I tell her all the time, she allowed me to just figure out how to get things done, gave me the time to learn how to do them, and I was able to learn all of that and accelerate myself through life that I wouldn't have. I don't know if I'd have had that opportunity without her being in my life.
Let me ask you all a question.
Very valuable thing. Sorry?
Yeah. Let me ask you all a question. Oh gosh, now it's like one of those things where you forget what you're going to say.
While you're thinking about that, I would just want to tag one last thing on there. These relations, and it's exactly what we're all saying, but maybe just a little bit differently. I got to where I am now. I didn't go to college. I taught myself, and I was, and I've always said I want to get paid to learn. So if I need to, when I first started out doing web development, I was doing them for $500 and $1,000 a website. Now I'm more than that. But I've been able to charge more than that because as I grow, I learn things, and I have these, but what do I need to learn that? I need a client. Right. I need some project to work on so I can hone my skills. These VAs, these assistants, these people that want work, they just need an opportunity to, like Randy's joking about, just give me a server to break and I'll figure out how to break it and fix it, He needs that opportunity, and it's, not many people are just going to be able to say, okay, I'm going to go out and buy this toy just to try to fix it. And even still, you need clients. You need real world. We need people to go in and push the buttons and see what works and what doesn't work. So you just got to give them a chance and, look for somebody that's got that natural talent and then say, here's a project. Let's see what you can do with it, and let them go, And I think that those are the most successful relationships that I've built are the ones where I get out of the way. When I try to micromanage too much, man, things just start to fall apart quick.
And then when you hire somebody, like if you notice that they're really doing amazing things kind of intuitively on Google Plus, for example, when you hire somebody, do you spell out what the time frame, or do you say, we'll evaluate this in a month, or?
Well, you know what I tell them? I tell them all this. I say, you charge me what your rate is, and if we run out of money, then I can't afford to keep you on staff. That's it. That's our relationship. So do your job, do it efficiently, and make sure that I make money so I can afford to keep you on staff, to keep you employed. You're responsible for your own job. I'm not gonna lord over you and say, oh, come on, crack the whip, get this done, get this done.
But you're very clear. You must then have to be very clear about what you want them to do.
Well, I don't know if I am, though. I wished I were more clear. I think when I start to try to be clear, I think I muddle things up. I literally just say, this is the task that needs to be done. What do you want to bring to? How should we solve this? And then now, of course, on some of the more process type things, I'm very particular about how I want the timestamps done. I'm very particular about what needs to be included in a tweet. I mean, those are really kind of process mappy type things that can be repeated over and over. But the things that you need to really kind of think outside the box, particularly with the server, particularly with the back-end development. I don't know what's possible with HTML5, but Nick does. So I say, Nick, I want to animate this map. What do we do? And let him figure that out. And then
I guess you have to be clear about what the end result needs to be.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. The end result.
Find people with the gifts that can realize that.
Yeah.
And I talked about
also, too, I think
being the book. Well, this is the end result of perhaps some audience development or relationships. So.
Yeah. Well, we are unbelievably at the end of our time. So this has just been incredible. They get better and better, don't they, Laura?
They do.
I don't know why. It's like there's so much to talk about, but let's visit this topic again. And does anybody have a final word that they would like to say about, wrapping up what delegating, getting a team together is all about?
I have one thing, and that is before you start a project, whether it's a book or anything else in your life, take time to do a self-evaluation and see what skills that you have that can really have an impact on that project and see it through. And then evaluate what skills you don't have and see if you can't get somebody to help you with the other ones. Because you're going to move faster and you're going to end up with something better at the end if you do it that way. If you try to do everything yourself and you're not good at all those things, you're kind of, it's a recipe for disaster. And not only that, you're going to get aggravated, and that's going to show the whole overall the whole project. It really will. You'll get sloppy in.
Yeah, exactly. I'll save my remarks for the end. But Jason, do you have a?
Yeah, I would dovetail immediately off the backside of that. What I do is, you make a list of all of the things that you do in your day. What are all the tasks that you have to do? And then go through that list again and say, which task do I hate doing? And then you go through and say, which task am I not good at? Those are the tasks you need to outsource. And it's that simple. How much money do I want to make per hour? Do I want to make $20, $30, $50, $100 an hour? Establish your hourly wage and find somebody to do those I hate them tasks or somebody to do those I can't do these tasks at your wage or less. That way you can be doing the things that you know how to do and earn your wage and still be able to afford people to do the other. Does that make sense?
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
That makes sense. Yeah,
exactly.
Totally. I have another question, but it will take us beyond our time, so we need to have you back. Tordis, do you have a closing statement about the publishing?
Yeah, a couple of things. One, what's your time worth? And then where are you in the process? Because Jason didn't know all he knows and have all these strategies when he first started out. There are lots of people out there who are just doing have written their first book, and now we're thinking, oh, what's the market for it? Or, some other beginning process. So be realistic with yourself about that too. And the only real mistake is to not inform yourself, to just you know, be in denial and then get a bad product at the end, or pay an arm and a leg and then some for a rescue job, or drive your family crazy or yourself. So, yep.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
advice, Jason.
Yeah. I was there. You know, I thought it just, my tradition, family tradition or whatever is, you know, do it all yourself, and you can do everything. But the best thing I've done lately, because I have a passion for publishing and I want to make it successful, I hired Laura Williams to consult with me on a weekly basis and help me with my time management, and just kind of, I feel like I'm being, you know, I've gone back to nursery school in some respects in that way, but it's starting to bear fruit, you know, and I really see it, and I'm paying her to do it, and you know, not a lot, but she's doing what she can for the amount I pay her, and it's starting to like get the juices flowing and get me more, you know, back on track, and now I need Jason to be on track. So anyway, we thank you all for listening. I'm sorry if we didn't get some of your questions, but please continue with the comments on the event page, and we'll get to them as we can after we close out here. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next Tuesday at noon.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you
Thanks,
for
everyone. Bye.
Bye now.